Welcome back to Better Business Podcast. My name is Cliff. This is my lovely wife, Sydney, and we are here to discuss business. We are doing this podcast because we believe we have some experience to give, and we had like free mentors, podcasts, books we listened to, but there's a lot of things that we try to talk about that we didn't realize or hear from any source. So
Mhm.
those things we try to bring to the mix and make sure people are aware of and just try to help people out that way.
Yeah, most people when they start their podcast, they're already 10 years or 5 years into their business, so they know what's going on and how it operates. But they kind of forget what it's like being in a W-2 world while doing your business. Because that's all that's their life is their business, not everything else that goes along in, say, personal life.
Yeah, that's totally, and it makes sense. I mean, they have that experience and they get that time by that moment of their business that, they can do this thing to help out. And I think, we like that idea, but at the same time, we saw that for us, it wasn't effective because
Mm-mm.
once we started doing business and listening to those people, we felt disconnected in a way because we're like, well, I'm working 40, 50 hours a week doing this, and then this is what you're doing full time. Like, so it feels like there's a little disconnect. So we decided to start a podcast while we're going through all
Yeah.
the struggles that almost every business owner does go through in the beginning when they are working that W-2 job, when they do have kids, when they have family events, they have the house that needs fixing,
Hmm.
all, and then that beautiful baby business that they're trying to start up and get going.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the whole niche we have here is we're doing, we're going through as we do it. We have years of experience with this.
Yeah, we do. But it's not like we're 10 years into our business and we're only doing our businesses and though like I would say the one difference, it seems like most business owners at least have one or two kids, where we have a dog.
Yeah.
So I feel like that we can't really relate to the kid aspect,
Mhm.
but we can relate to like having a W-2 job, having multiple businesses while doing the W-2 job, really not having time to have a personal life,
Mhm.
which is a huge part of starting a business. You just don't have a personal life.
Yeah. And humans are social. And when you have a business, you're not doing it alone. You shouldn't be
Mhm.
doing it alone. So you need to be social as well.
Yeah.
But that becomes part of our other episodes, priorities, scheduling, items like that where and the people we have in our circle that are business owners as well, they do the same thing. They completely understand it.
Yeah, but
So
there was a time where we didn't socialize with other businesses because we didn't have money for gas.
yeah, we couldn't go to get we could we could drive to the gas station, the store, and work for like months. So we didn't get
Mhm.
a chance to talk to business owners, and it was kind of one of those things where a lot of people felt disconnected from us, and we felt the same. So like
Mhm.
surrounding ourselves with like-minded people was a big thing,
Yes.
and it's a little easier to have as a friendship too because like yeah, we might not see them for like 6 months, but then they completely know and understand why.
Yes.
And so then when you see them, there it's just like you didn't you saw them last weekend or the week before because it's like, oh yeah, we know exactly how you feel because we're going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's just it's a nice thing to have when you have similar people that understand your situation.
Mhm.
But this episode is on a topic that I think we're very excited for.
Yeah, well, we've experienced this, and then we had to change up our plans,
Yep.
and now we're hoping to get to this point.
So
So
this
let's say the topic.
is an exciting moment here.
The anticipation.
Uh-huh. What is it? It is we are discussing when it is time to quit your W-2 job and go into your business full time.
Yes. And then let's just disclose there's never a perfect time.
I think it's like having a kid. There's never a perfect time from what I hear.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's, like buying a house and buying, having a business. There's never a perfect time.
Hmm.
and you can never judge the market 100%. So it's always going to be a risk to it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the upside there, the potential upside is amazing. Risk versus reward comes with this.
Yes.
But that's why we're in business, is we want that reward.
Yeah.
And everybody listening isn't probably in the same boat where they want that, whatever that reward is. And I would say that reward is related to our first episode. Do you remember what that one was?
Our reason why.
Yes. The why. That is the
I
reward.
passed the test.
Yes. All right. We call it.
But going back a little more on our storyline is when 2020 hit, I decided to get out of the workforce and go into business full time.
Mhm.
And money was tight,
It was.
but
One income.
which made me learn how to budget very well.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously I think I jumped the gun too early because I was just starting up. And I was like, oh, I can get, going full time and just get a bunch of clients. That's not how this works.
Mm-hmm.
You have to
Build up that clientele and that
Yes.
reputation.
Yes, which is something that I didn't do. I'm just going into business full time. Now, I did get clients here and there, but it wasn't enough to cover, because I think I made what I think I made what $10 an hour, if that,
Yeah, something like that. It was very.
because it was minimum wage at that time
Oh,
for
at that
us.
shop. I think it was 11 at the time.
Okay, but
Walking
and it was
dog.
also a very shady place where they paid you under the table, so you could have instead, like one of my coworkers, I think got paid $8 an hour.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those moments where it depended on my paycheck, but I did it properly
Yeah.
for the most part. But
But-
that's going down a rabbit hole
Yes.
of that experience. So I was upset with that job.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get in business full time.
Yep.
That's what we did.
We went to college for business as well, and we were very inspired by it.
Yep.
Having a business. So we weren't. It wasn't a foreign concept to us at the time.
Yep.
We already had business plan templates. We had
everything ready.
everything.
It was just we didn't realize how long it took to build a business.
Yes. We didn't realize that marketing is a lot harder than the class was.
Yeah.
And
So I was in business for 2 years.
Yep.
And then we started another business because we budgeted right.
we did. We budgeted
And
very
the
right.
business was doing, it was at least covering itself at that point for the most part.
Yep.
And so we decided, okay, let's jump into another business. And that business did not do so good.
That one failed pretty miserably.
Yeah, it taught us what
Quickly.
not to do.
Yeah. It was a lot. I mean, experience is probably because the business we did was real estate.
Yep.
And for a year and a half, I listened to podcasts. I read the books. I did almost everything right before we got into it.
Yeah.
And then my inexperience and not having a mentor, not having someone in that
You
field
got
already.
FOMO.
I did. I had the fear of missing out. And so I made irrational decisions.
Yep.
And that's also, that experience taught us so much. A lot of
Yeah.
budgeting, a lot of, we need to let go of the emotions.
Yeah, it helped you grow because I felt like not just FOMO, but you had to make very hard decisions and kind of fire people per se,
Yeah.
which you had to you didn't want to do any of that. And you ended up having to learn that in business that people are going to walk all over you unless if you're like, this is how it is. This is what's happening.
You tell them what to do.
Yeah.
If you're paying them.
Yeah.
And then you make sure that you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
And I hated conflict. I know we're getting a little off topic, but I hated conflict. that's part of how we're getting to the
This is our
subject.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, because we, like you said, we did at one point quit this W-2 job.
Yeah.
So then we're coming up to why we're talking about this right
Yeah.
now. But so I had issues with confrontation,
Hmm.
and now I don't.
Yeah.
And I had issues with FOMO,
Yeah.
and now I know that that's not to let that go. Look at everything unemotionally.
Yeah. But
So
with that learning stage, which I think we always called it the hard knocks of school.
yeah, that was the tuition
Yeah, our
of our
tuition.
business.
And that made it where I had to get another job because we had so much debt from that business
Yep.
that there, like we couldn't cover it. Like my business couldn't cover it anymore. Your job couldn't cover it, and itself couldn't cover it.
Yep.
So we had to figure out a situation which put me back in the job.
Yep.
So I will say, once you get out of a job and getting back in, especially going from small business yourself to corporate, made your, like, trust me, it makes your head hurt.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, what, why are we doing this way? Like, this makes no sense. And so I've been in corporate since.
Mhm.
And like it's taught me some things, I won't deny, but it was very difficult going from small business to corporate. And because you've been in business, it's kind of like when moms go out to, take care of their kids, which that's a
Stay-at-home moms.
job,
Yeah.
that's a huge job itself.
Yeah.
But they don't, like, the workforce doesn't see it that way. So all my years in business, doing sales, doing computer work, all that stuff, that meant nothing.
Mhm.
My business didn't mean anything. And so I had to start at ground zero. Like
Mhm.
I was I was a high school dropout, essentially, is how they looked at me.
Yeah, because you were gone for the workforce for so long.
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I had a college degree, I had my own businesses still running and operating, even though they failed. I'm still working towards growing it because I know they can be successful. It's just the first 3 years of any business is always tough.
Yeah.
That's why they say, like, after three, they usually quit, or in between the three, they quit.
Yeah.
Usually businesses don't last after three. And knock on wood, one's at three, I think. The other one's at two, and the other one is just a baby.
Yeah. We bought it. So
Yeah,
it's been alive for a while, but it's our baby right now.
exactly. Yeah. But that was just a whole experience of what it, like, how it felt having to go into a workforce again. It was so tough. And that's why like that is one regret in a way, that I got out too early,
Yeah.
because I could have at least transferred to a new job and had a higher paying job, as, like, say, as of now,
Mhm.
possibly, compared to where I'm at now, which isn't bad, but it always.
Hindsight is a bitch.
Exactly. But at the end of the day, we learned, we experienced everything. And now we're at a point with our three businesses, they're mostly covering themselves.
Yeah, yeah, we're getting to the point where they're starting to cover themselves.
Mhm.
And one of our newest business, a little baby one, is it's a seasonal
Yeah.
type of business. So we're prepping for that seasonalness.
Yeah.
It's coming up right now.
And it's also one of those things where we're trying to plan for the future too. So it's not seasonal.
Yeah.
And that's something, it takes time. And we're realizing with our busy season coming up
Hmm.
and trying to figure out how to make it year round
Yep.
has made a very time crunch feeling. And one of those, and I'll let you kind of go into more detail, but we kind of have our list of stuff that we want to be at a good place for us to, at least one of us, to get into this full time
Mhm.
during the busy season and start producing, say, new products
Yeah.
to make it all year round, where it's more like year roundy than seasonally.
Yeah, I definitely think you're making your point there with, we know this business is seasonal, but we also know there's ways to pivot it to make the product, one product line we have seasonal, the other product lines seasonal on the off on one, the off, the vice versa.
Yeah.
One's popular one time a year, the other one's popular the other time of year. So like we can pivot that and focus and have those steady sales rather than kind of a bell curve of sales
Yeah.
throughout the year. So that is a great segment into our topics and our discussion here is, so we're talking about how to quit or when to know you can quit your job and move into your business full time. So I think we need to talk about a few of more of the businessy reasons to quit a job.
Okay.
And I say that because there's 100 reasons to quit a job.
100%.
Everybody has a reason.
Yeah.
Even if you're really good at your job, pays everything, it has unlimited PTO, things like that. There's always something there that's like, I want to quit. I would quit because of this. Or if somebody offered me this, I'd leave in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So like we're gonna try to stick to the business reasons of it.
Okay.
And I think one of the first things is, I want to say, financial.
Yeah.
So because I do think there's another two reasons, or there's two top reasons to quit.
Okay.
I want to say the first one's financial. I think here in America, 50% of divorces are because of financials, or almost most of the reason for divorce is financial. So that's a very important step.
Mhm.
And we have experienced the financial burden of business taking over and then you having to go back to a job. That was
Yeah.
the introduction to this whole topic.
Yeah.
So financials, what do we need? What's the reason that holds you back from quitting a job when it comes to your business's financials?
Yeah. For me, I want to make sure that the business can cover all the expenses itself.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if possible, I wanted to make X amount to pay for, say, X bill or X bill. So, say at the beginning, it covers all its expenses, and I want the business also to cover my electric bill.
Okay.
So I want to make sure I make enough money that it covers all that,
Mm-hmm.
rather than just saying it needs to just cover itself. Like, okay, can I add a bill into it?
Yeah. And you have it pay something else off. So then that kind of goes to our discussion we had. It looks like it was like the 7th or 8th episode when we talked about budgeting.
Yeah.
And this comes to personal finance.
Mm-hmm.
So something to take in consideration is, it sounds like something to take in consideration is you need to make your personal budget. You need to know how much you're spending, and you need to make sure that whatever you want covered, electric bill, internet, phone, that bill is going to be covered by the profit of your business.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to know how much you need to make and you get before you leave this job.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge important thing, because like if you jump into something and it's not prepared, like we experienced,
Yeah.
that's a huge issue.
Yeah. It wasn't like my business at the beginning was not able to cover any additional bills.
Mm-hmm.
And we were having to put money into it because it was still a baby.
Yeah. And so somebody could be hopefully building up whatever business they're doing, and they can realize that they should be able to look at their own budget of what they spend per month and say, like, I minimally need this
Yeah.
from this business. And then you have to work. It's kind of like we talked about, I think, last episode. You kind of have, in another topic we'll have in the future, it's kind of working backwards.
Yeah.
So like you start with your budget and you know what you need to make.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gotta work backwards. Okay, how do I make that much?
How much do you have to make, say, a year,
Yeah.
a month, a week? So then you can start focusing, oh, so I need to make, say $50 because that covers its own self and a bill, which would actually it sounds very low, but
Possible. I mean,
so we need $50 to cover everything.
Yep.
And pay X bill. That's per week. So how do I get, say, one client that is going to pay me $50 a week to do X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
or X, whatever it is.
Yep.
And then next week, how do I get another client to maybe say that one client is still paying me 50, but I was able to get another client to pay me 50. So now I'm at 100. So now I'm making double what I wanted.
Mhm.
And now I'm adding an extra bill that I know it can cover.
Yeah. I think, this is kind of a concept we've I want to say discovered the hard way, is working backwards, but it has been very effective on a little bit we've used it so far. It is one of those things where, like you said, I need this. How do I get this? This is
Yeah.
how I get this. What do I need to do to get this? All right, I do this to get this. And then you start doing stuff like that. And and then hopefully you're kind of making those steps to get that. And once you do get that, it's kind of working in your favor. So then you're financially ready to move on.
Yeah.
Let's say now we go to our second topic of reasons to quit is time. If you're working 40, 50 hours a week, you got to sleep 8.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only 24 hours in a day. And if you're sleeping 8, you're working 8, you have 8 left. You still have to cook, clean, do whatever else you got to do. So like when, explain like timing for us, maybe it would be an easier way to ask this question, but like you want to quit your job and it's because of time.
Yeah. Just because we're running out of time. Like
Yeah.
that, you made that clear. And I don't have a good answer because each day is so different for us. Because there's days where I don't work 8, I work 10 just because I have a ton of stuff to do. So I have to come home. And there's days where I have to cook because we try to cook on the weekends so we don't have that issue.
Yep.
But there's days maybe we're doing admin work because we only have an hour.
Yeah. And then we need to do the other stuff that you have to do in life.
Yeah.
And I think with time, a big thing is to consider is, comes down to how much you make. And that's the financial part of it too. That $100 you were talking about you make, or that $50 you need to make. How many hours does that take you? If that takes you 1 hour, well, then maybe you can, keep your job for a while, bank that money, pay off whatever else, make it easier for yourself. But if that hour or that $50 takes 4 hours, then it gets harder to do. And where does that time come? And then eventually, if you have double your client, then you have 8 hours. Where does that 8 hours come? And then you have 3, 4, and so on. And then you're starting to have work, 60 to 70 to 80 hours a week, 40 at your work, and then the rest is going to your business. And, it comes to the point where if you're financially secure or you would be from your business, then is it time to quit your job? Because if your business is starting to increase your amount of time it needs and you're financially secure, then which one's going to be more beneficial?
Yeah.
And you got to start thinking in terms of how much your hour costs you.
Yeah.
And if your work hour starts going below what you make at your job or your business, then your time at that place becomes less valuable to you. And there's only so much time in a day. So I think that's something that people have to consider is once your business starts taking over time, and which are, like we said, ours is getting there. We have 3 businesses. 2 of them are starting to really take over themselves. And we have one that needs a little bit more attention. So that's why we can't just quit right at the moment. So like we're trying to get that financial security so then we can get time and we put that time into those businesses again to increase them even more.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to get to is like if you if your businesses are taking time and you could take that leap that, if I can get more time, I can grow this business, then that alone might be a great reason, because that might lead to other financial, you know, more security for your business and stuff like that. We got seasonality for your business. That is a huge thing that's going on with us right now.
Yeah.
And that kind of relates to time, but like, I guess discuss what you think the seasonality of this business will look like compared to now.
I don't have an answer for that.
From what we've been told, at least, is, right now we come home, we're making the product, we're doing the admin work. On weekends, we're doing the same thing, and we're getting by. We're getting stuff fixed, we're stocking up, we're getting ready. But from what we've heard on how this business industry works,
And that's the thing we've heard.
yeah,
So we don't really have room to discuss this topic just because we haven't experienced it.
yes, that is true. We haven't actually experienced it firsthand. Now you have resources, you have YouTube, YouTubers, people you follow that do the same thing as our business, and they even discuss that the seasonality of the business.
Yes, but it's still, we have not gone through it.
Yeah. But from the sounds of it and what we've seen in like sales reports and things like that, is like most of the business comes from the seasonalness, this time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we've heard that, it takes is we're going to be not here physically at our place to be able to do anything for the business every weekend for like 3 months straight.
Yeah.
So then that takes, okay, well, how do we cram what we do in the weekends into the weekdays?
Yeah.
And that is the reason why we are talking about this, because we have to start planning on you quitting a job.
Yeah.
So that way we can have the time to be able to do all that.
Yeah.
And it's only seasonal. So like it could be possible that like if you really liked your job or you really wanted to go back, that after this time frame you could go back. But
yeah, but this is corporate too. Like you have to consider where you're working.
yes.
And I'm working in corporate.
Yeah.
Corporate isn't a huge fan, at least in my position, that where they want seasonal workers. Because obviously, if you think about it, the majority of our population in the US, we like our fun months is October, November, and December. That is where, like, throughout the whole year, we save up for those 3 months to have a ton of fun.
Yeah.
So even in corporate, they hire seasonal workers for October, November, and December.
Yep.
And that's when our quote unquote busy season is too.
Mm-hmm.
So during the summer, it's slow for people.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think to your point too is corporate doesn't like to be second to anything.
They really don't.
They don't really care what you do outside of your life. They want you to show up.
They want
and
them to be number one.
Yeah, they supply you with a position. They want you to be grateful that they do, and they want you to only think about them. You can always work more than 40. It's a corporate world, especially if your salary. But we have to take that in consideration for this business, because like if that's something we want this business to succeed, from what we've been told and the sales reports we read, that is what is going to really boost this business for us to be able to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So again,
and
it's the
do we want to take the risk? Because looking at it, like I'll let you run through the list, but I think it's financial, time.
Yeah, we have to consider, the income of the business. You have to consider personal finances alone, what you have outside. That if you have to pull money out of the business, what is it going to be used for? And that goes to your point about the paying the bill part. There's things like health insurance. I mean, that other people have to consider. Luckily for us, it's on me. It's on my job. And I'm sticking to my job at the moment. And that's something that we don't have to consider for you. But if someone is like one person and they either have a job and this business, that's a huge, they're gonna add that to their budget.
Yeah, and
that's not cheap.
Not, as a business owner, that's not cheap at all.
No. So that's a huge thing. You also have to take in consideration your personal goals, which goes back to our first episode on why. Make sure you know your why the whole time, because that's also what's driving us
Yeah.
on this. Then you have, what responsibilities do you have? Are you taking care of a parent? Are you taking care of kids? Things like that. Like if we had kids and we wanted to be at home with them and homeschool them, then yeah, you probably would need to quit your job sooner. But then what does that take in consideration of your finances?
Yeah, it's going to take a hit.
And then you have to consider the time it takes. If this business is going to take 60
Yeah.
hours a week, then where is that going to come from?
Yeah.
And so those are some huge things to consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the last reason, business people would have to consider leaving a W-2 job and jumping into their business full time would be like mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of goes with you're working 80 hours a week. When do you have time to socialize? When do you have time to take a day and go hike? When do we have time to do our stress relievers where we just watch a movie? When was the last time we watched a movie the whole way through? Yeah. So
I don't know.
we watch TV shows because it's like 20 minutes and then boom. Okay. All right. We ate in that time. We woke up, we drank a cup of coffee or something. Let's get going.
Yeah.
So like that, and doing this, we've done this now for a year, like you said, and it's been a lot.
Yeah.
Juggling everything, and we're getting to the point where like, mentally it's draining and we're not doing the things we want. It's kind of getting frustrating.
Yeah.
And so if we take this leap, like, will it be able to help us get there? Get, kind of regain our mental.
Yeah, it's all a risk.
So I think we go back to the things to consider, and that's kind of what we've been talking about is your income,
Mm-hmm.
business income, and that relates to the personal finances. You have to know what is going to happen for the business, so that way you can be able to afford life for your personal finances.
Yeah. I do feel like we're starting to repeat ourselves.
I was just thinking that a little bit. So
I think you did a good job essentially ending our segment on this topic by repeating it.
Yeah, I would think so too. I mean, is there anything else we can talk about? I think
there's just not a lot more we can add, just because we're trying to figure this out ourselves.
Yes.
It's not set in stone that we're doing it right now and this is what's happening. No, it's more of a topic that we've been talking about personally, and like especially on this segment, we are repeating ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we don't know ourselves what's going on. And that's why we wanted to talk about this, just so you can like say you have a spouse, you're going to repeat yourself a lot because you're scared.
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, we have the same conversation because like it is risky, and we've done risky things that have bit us in the ass.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we realized especially when we bought this new business, is when we have the risk and we have things that we're worried about, we express them to each other, and then we say, okay, how do we get rid of that?
Repeat ourselves a ton because we're nervous.
Yeah.
It's as every business, you have to feel uncomfortable to
grow.
Yeah, to grow. And it's really hard. And when you're uncomfortable, you tend to repeat yourself over and over and over and over because you're trying to analyze it.
Yeah.
And so I think we've kind of dug a hole on repeating ourselves in this segment that I think now we just have to figure out how to execute it.
Yeah. And I think it's one of those things, like you said, we're repeating ourselves. We know this issue is constant for us, and we need to figure out how to address it.
Yeah.
Those things,
and make sure we do it wisely.
And we have to take the emotion out of it and look at it logically. Logically, it usually involves the numbers.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And that's, I think, the time, the finances, and the income.
Yeah.
So those three are numbers we can look at to figure out, is this possibility to do?
Yeah. And with us talking about everything, we brought emotion into it, though.
We did. And I think that was great that you brought up that we're repeating ourselves. We showed that we did bring that emotion. And then I think acknowledging that we have that emotion allowed us to kind of take a second to breathe and
Yeah.
then say, you're right, we're thinking of it. We need to think of it logically.
What is it? Analysis paralysis. That's
Yeah.
like we're going through that right now.
Mhm.
And it's okay to do, but at the end of the day, you just need to feel uncomfortable and do it and make sure you either like you are going to quit your job or you're not going to quit your job. And like you said, the big thing is finances to make sure you can cover yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, time is at the end of the day, sometimes time is personal.
Yeah.
But the finances speak the word.
Yeah. On if it's going to be possible and if it's going to make sure you keep the life or you get the life you want.
Yeah.
So as long as like you're not stuck and you're just constantly doing this loop that we were just doing.
Yeah.
And you acknowledge it and address it. Like, yeah, we're going to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with that. And
Yeah.
what's the other saying that I love? Life is hard. Choose your hard.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to work a W-2 in a business. And it's going to be hard to work just a business.
Especially like say you have a W-2 job and a business during busy season.
Yeah.
You're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, you have to.
But your finances is going to tell you if you can or if you can't.
Mm-hmm. And I think that really, it's go back to our episode on budgeting. You need a refresher, but
yeah,
I think that's a great kind of spot to end it because I think that was a fantastic way to you brought it up and just how we're repeating ourselves, and I think people kind of get annoyed at that. But once you acknowledge that you do that, we can address that what the issue actually is.
Yeah.
So I think that's good to go.
Yeah.
I hope people, if they have this issue, I want them to reach out to us.
Yeah. And obviously we're doing it, so it's okay for yourself to do it. Yeah. It's just at the end of the day, you have to get uncomfortable and you have to take action on it. Whether that be, say you stay in a W-2 job or you are able to go into a business. But you have to make sure your finances are in a good position. And then that will give you the ultimate decision on, well, you may be uncomfortable in a W-2 job and you may be uncomfortable doing it during the busy season, but that's what you have to do.
Yeah. That is an excellent wrapping up scenario. Yeah. Guys, if you want to find us on anything, we do bookkeeping, we do coaching, bennerstride.com is where you can find us, and you can send us a chat. I think we schedule appointments. Yep. And we'll see if we're the best fit for you. If not, I think we have somewhere we can send you. We want to make sure that you get the best for what you need, not just because we want to have clients. And we hope you like this podcast. We really appreciate anybody rating us with 5 stars, giving us those reviews. Those things really help us out. And we're just trying to help each other out. Yeah. Yeah. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, Benner Stride as well. And we'll hope you guys have a good time. Yeah. Thanks for listening.